As far back as I can remember, I dreamt of a normal life. A life filled with normal things. A life where monsters don't live in closets or under the bed. A life where ghosts aren't real. I just wanted to be normal. But that didn't happen. It wasn't meant to be. Since my early 20s, I have experienced profound paranormal events that would change my life. Extreme poltergeist activity, living amongst those that have departed this earth in ways unimaginable. It has affected my loved ones and children with no end in sight. I could hear things, see things, and feel things not of this world. I asked myself if this was a gift or a curse. With the help of my mother and close friends, I emerged a paranormal investigator. Since 2013, I have been on a relentless journey to learn about the paranormal. This is my time to share my journey with you. Welcome to my Paranormal Soapbox. Hello and welcome to my Paranormal Soapbox. I'm your friendly neighborhood ghost hunter, Justin Brown, and we have another interesting show topic to discuss today. We are going to be presenting episode 65, which is pretty crazy, of the Soapbox series, and we'll be talking about drugs and the paranormal. Do drugs enhance paranormal perceptions? Do psychedelics create supernatural, spiritual experiences, or are they just merely hallucinations and aberrations of the mind? So that's what we'll be talking about today. Of course, there has been a lot of study, a lot of debate on this subject matter. I'm very surprised that it's taken this long to flesh out this topic. It's not something that's discussed a lot, but we're going to take a shot out of it, of doing so tonight. I have Jessica and Missy with me tonight. They're going to moderating the chat. We're going to be live on the Justin Brown Paranormal Research Facebook page, RU Media Network Facebook page, and Interface Death YouTube channel. And they will be handling the comments. If you wanted to be shouted out during the show, you know what to do. At least say hi or what's up, and we will read your name off. And if you have any questions or any comments, please keep them classy, be respectful. If you were offended by anything I say during the course of this video, I apologize in advance. My intentions are not to cause people stress. I'm not trying to offend anybody or attack your belief system. It's just simply what I believe based on my life experience and research. So with all that being said, thank you for joining me. Please share the show. Girls, are you ready to go?
I'm ready.
I'm ready.
They're both ready. Okay. So here we go. I don't think you can't talk about the Bible from the beginning. In every culture that I have studied, there's always been a use of herbalism, of plants, of psychoactive substances, whether it be incense, oils, or straight up, the recreational use of things, or, well, let's just say the medical use of things. But specifically, we're going to stay on the supernatural end of things. When I bring up cultures, we're going to mainly focus on the Bible and primarily what Jews done and what, Middle Eastern cultures did, and that does flood into Egyptian cultures, because I believe that the oldest cultures influence all the other cultures that come after them. So this is where all these uses of all these psychoactive drugs get their influence from. So I'm not an expert on the subject matter. I just researched it. Years ago I used to be a lot better, but for the show I did try to, get the knowledge circulating back in my head. There's a few things that are controversial when the Bible mentions certain things. One thing that did interest me was during Exodus, there is this substance that was provided to the people called manna. There's a lot of belief that manna was actually ergot, which is a form of fungus that can taste sweet, that has nutritional benefit and is very psychoactive, but it rots very quickly. So a lot of people believe that they were told that the manna would rot on the last day and have worms in it and so on and so forth. Ergot does the same thing. So there's a lot of belief around that manna was actually a substance that did bring forth some type of vision, some type of angst to do something spiritually. There is a lot of cults nowadays in our culture nowadays that uses psychedelics for their spiritual exodus, if you will, or their journeys into the supernatural realm. The burning bush element, and where the Ten Commandments come in at the mountain, that was actually, it's believed to be mistranslated. It's supposed to be a plant that has DMT in it. And what's interesting is the only time in the Bible where a mass group of people saw things that were described as sounds are in the Bible. It actually it translates that they seen voices and saw trumpeting. Okay, you don't see sounds unless you're tripping. Okay, and the bush itself makes sense. If you're burning it and inhaling the fumes from it, you can get psychoactive effects from that. So, everybody that has researched this subject matter knows that there's oils that was used to massage into priests, things like frankincense, myrrh, cinnamon, other types of things, mixed with MAOIs to decrease the enzymes in the liver to have the psychotropic effects occur is interesting. Very, very interesting. Cannabis was used either in hemp form or the female blossom form to get the the hallucinogenic effects from that. But it's not all psychedelic stuff. The frankincense and myrrh is more like a antidepressant or a tranquilizer, but it is considered psychotropic. So all these things are interesting. Okay, very, very interesting. Native cultures, okay, are known throughout South America and has influenced the northern areas when Indians came over. Vision quests, ayahuasca, psilocybin, mushrooms, all types of psychotropic effects from these substances are used spiritually. Okay, that is not a coincidence to me. It's known throughout our culture that certain substances bring about certain vision, certain information, stimuli to us that we perceive as spiritual in nature. So that ties into the paranormal. So I just want to kind of start off this episode and this show by you guys knowing where I'm coming from with this. This is not something like, oh, a drug addict took a bunch of drugs, he's seen some stuff, and he's just applying his spirituality to it. That's not the case. I have experimented with pretty much all drugs throughout my 40 years on this earth. And I do understand from a personal experience standpoint that this is why throughout antiquity and our history that these substances were used in such ways. So the question is, are we hallucinating? Are we experiencing things that aren't there, that are just aberrations of the mind, figments of our imagination? Or are we unlocking perceptions that are normally inhibited by social conditioning, upbringing, who knows what else? Are we unlocking a perception to the gods? That is the question posed on this show, and I'm going to try to answer that. All right? Let me know what you guys think. It is very important. If you're on one side of the fence or the other, I urge you to be open-minded. Okay? If you are strongly against drugs, I want you to try to sit back in your seat tonight and understand where many people that's done the research are coming from. where people have firsthand experiences are coming from. And we're going to talk about specifically DMT and the presence of DMT in the pineal gland and near-death experiences, how near-death experiences may be fueled by the release of DMT or a similar substance in the body when the body detects death may be present or imminent to them. Okay? So all those things tie together in this subject tonight. I think the first thing you want to think about is psychosis. People we classify as crazy will hear voices. They will see things that other people don't see, and they will display behavior that can be defined as paranoid and neurotic. Okay, just kind of throw a blanket term on that. So without the use of drugs, so there are some lines that are blurry. I believe that some people do perceive things that aren't actually there, but for any one person, trained or untrained, to discern whether they are actually hallucinating or seeing supernatural paranormal things is not clear cut. And it's very hard to determine these things. From the literature and the research I've seen, there's a lot of people that have mental disorders that don't hallucinate the same things where other people see them. Okay, but a lot of people that have schizophrenia and similar mental disorders do report similar hallucinations. Okay, specifically voices, like the voice phenomena, the auditory hallucinations, as they're called or referred to. So, there's been cases where people have heard things that, quote unquote, the devil made me do it, or the devil told me to do it. The devil told me my child was a demon, so I chopped his head off, type thing. Those, I believe, a lot of times are false voices. So, the reason I bring that up is I cannot tell you and be confident that every time someone hears voices that it's legitimately from, some supernatural, divine, or paranormal source. Okay. The lines are blurred on this. So it's just speculation through the board. But with that being said, the Salem witch trials, there is evidence that would suggest that there was a whole bunch of wheat that got infected with some ergot, and they burn up a whole bunch of people because of it. People, women specifically were being torched because they were, witches, for lack of a better term. That's what they were labeled as. People may have been hallucinating. The uses of it in religion is specifically interesting when we're talking about this, is because when you begin to wonder if these are actual things that you are perceiving without your imagination or hallucination being involved, is that a determining factor whether you believe it or not? Whether it's, just based on your belief, or it's evidence, lack of a better term, for God, for ghosts, for demons, for the supernatural. That is the main question, right? So when we hear these stories in the Bible, they believe, without a shadow of a doubt, that they're speaking to God, that they're speaking to angels, that they're hearing trumpets, that they're hearing voices telling them what to do. Pretty much a lot of all throughout the Bible, it's a bunch of people going through very similar experiences like people on drugs would, or people with psychosis or mental disorders would go through. If these events happen today, their reports of these things would be highly questionable to majority of people in the medical field. So with that being said, I have personal experience. Okay, a lot of psychotropic drugs can alter your perception in ways that seem revealing mechanics or qualities of reality. A lot of that is time. Certain drugs can take you out of our normal linear time dimension. Okay? They can take you out of our spatial dimension as well, specifically DMT. DMT is very, very psychoactive and can take you straight out of everything that we're perceiving now into what they report as the spirit realm. Okay? So they report the same entities that they come in contact with during DMT trips. They report the same visuals and the same sensations. So it doesn't seem random. It doesn't seem, like, some type of garbled information that's being spewed out into your brain, stimulating it. Doesn't seem like that. But it's really hard to know. When you look at the spiritual or psychedelic trips used in the native cultures, it seems like the benefit is almost like it dissolves the ego, or it kind of eliminates a fear, or it shows you the face of God. It shows you the presence of God so you can move forward in your faith. And when I had personal experience with LSD, psilocybin, DMT, all those types of things, I could relate to that. And the reason why was, everybody has some, fear of death situation. I very much did have a fear of death. And when I tripped, it takes you to that fear. It's almost like it takes your head and plunges your head deep into the waters of fear. Like you have to face that fear head on. And in some cases, it does feel like you're dying. So you almost go through like a mini near-death experience, depending on the chemicals and the quantities used. So once you get over that experience and you see that there's no reason to fear, then you start to understand that the physical body is not all that there is. There is a spiritual body. There is a disassociation from everything physical, and you're now aware that there is a spiritual realm, that there is a more than real thing out there beyond what we normally perceive as reality. So that's why I believed cultures for thousands of years have experimented with drugs, whether it be medicinal, medical, and spiritual. They used it for reasons that I think were mostly for beneficial purposes. But there's some things out there, drug addicts are a thing. Drug addiction is a thing. I'm not saying everybody should go out there and start taking a whole bunch of drugs. I think when they're used responsibly and in these ways, they can be mostly beneficial. But I want to know what you guys think. I can get into some more specific stories that relate back to stories I've already talked about concerning ghost sightings, seeing strange things, all that stuff. So I'm very curious what everybody thinks of the subject matter and what they have to say. Do you girls want to start the shout outs and get that done?
Sure. Just to make sure I'm not muted, right?
No, but you got a lot of headroom again.
Okay, well, I'll fix that in a minute. I've got Derek Schreiner. I've got Bill Davis. I have Teresa Finney. I have Marlene Gump. I have Tony Felucci. I have Heather Elliott. I have Melissa Grubbs, Ken Taylor, Amber McCart, Bonnie Ring, Lynn Meyer, Daniel Everson, Jamie Everson, Julia Syracuse, Shannon Humphreys, Nelson, Sandy, and Valerie on the Justin Brown page. And I have Chris Musgrove, Adam Kimmel, Sean Gilmore, and Kathy Santori on RU Media.
All right. Thank you for joining us. The two Facebook pages are a little bit much there. Who we got on YouTube?
I got it.
Okay, my turn?
Yep.
Scotty Fox, Darren Smith from Old Lincoln County Jail, Lady in the Mist, Justin's mom, Gateway Paranormal, Joe, Betty, Sam, Bonnie, Dan from Supernatural Lost Adventures, Spirit Stalker, and Michelle.
Awesome. Thanks for joining us, everyone. Hopefully this is enjoyable. Thank you for the water, daughter. Full service around here, I guess. All right. Is there any questions, any interesting things from the peanut gallery yet that we need to address?
I have one from Joe that says, "This is why I get upset with other investigators when they find out that people who need help may be under the influence of some type of drug and they don't want to help. They see them as just as druggies."
Yeah, that's a judgment people have for other people who are either dealing with a behavioral issue or a psychedelic or a mental disorder that needs medication to alleviate. So yeah,
And Heath Edwards just joined. I'm sorry.
that's okay. Thanks, Heath, for joining us. That's pretty good reason why residentials can be hard. I think the best way to approach those situations are, okay, you have to address them right at the beginning. When you go into someone's home, you ask them, hey, do you think that you're having a paranormal experience? Do you believe that you could be wrong about that? Depending on their answers and how you take how they answer that should dictate how you're going to proceed. Okay, if I've investigated people's homes, businesses that were already convinced that they're haunted, they just want you to confirm it. But if you don't confirm that it's haunted and you debunk it or give alternate explanations for it, that can cause an issue. You should not do those cases. You should stay away from them. If you find evidence of the contrary, if you find evidence or any reason at all to believe that they're crazy, that they're hallucinating or lying or just wrong, but they don't want to hear that, you should just stay away. You want to get to that early on. Anything else?
That's it on YouTube.
I have a question. Led Meyer asked, what about someone on drugs seeing a house is on fire when it isn't versus a medium having visions in their mind?
That's a good question. I believe that anything that someone sees, reports psychically through a dream or through other altered state of perception, something that someone else is not observing, would be an altered state of perception, needs to be backed up by something else. Okay, it needs to be validated. Whether that validation is strong or not, it needs some type of validation and replication. You should never go off of what any psychic medium tells you. You should always try to cross-check and confirm or validate those things with another source, whether it be another psychic medium, whether it be with a document or a personal account of somebody. And these things need to be compartmentalized, be done double blind so they don't influence each other. Okay, so you can rule that out completely. So the difference, there may be a difference there, but to validate it should, the whole process of validation should be done so we can rule out whether there is a difference or not. Hopefully that answers the question.
Also, Janine Mays just joined, Becky Compton joined, and Jason Snyder joined. And Bill said I forgot him, but Paranormal Reporter is watching.
Happy birthday, Becky.
Yes, happy birthday, Becky.
Yeah, I almost forgot it is Becky's birthday. It's Jason Snyder's birthday too, right?
I don't know.
I feel like it is. Am I right about that, Jason? Pretty sure. I'm checking. I think it is. I don't feel like checking. I think it is. So It is two birthday people in the chat.
Michelle asked a question. She said, why would it cause issues? But I think her question was regarding Joe's.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not sure.
Well, maybe they can clarify.
Yeah.
Maybe they can clarify it. Yes,
Also,
it is Jason's birthday. I am right about that. Go ahead, Missy.
Fred Schneidenberg and Vicky Mulligan just jumped on RU Media.
Nice. Thanks, guys. We are currently talking about the use of drugs concerning paranormal phenomena, paranormal experiences, spiritual and supernatural things too. You know, we kind of started off the show talking about the use of drugs and spiritual, processes. So I know Missy and Jessica probably has very little experience with any psychedelic drugs. Maybe not. But yeah. I have. And the story that I talked about that I had at my mother's house that involved the orbs of light nature beings, I believe that they were, and this thing that was reported to me to be derived from some type of witchcraft. That, I believe, I've asked my mother, why did at that certain time was I able to see these things? And her response, if I remember, she can correct me if I'm wrong, is they, gave me the ability to see them. They can kind of, give you the ability to see them and not see them. And I never bought into that. Okay. And the main reason I thought that I did was I was experimenting with psychedelics big time when I came back to live with her from Idaho and Oregon area. And it wasn't until then I started seeing things like that. But at the time, I wondered if I was just hallucinating, but someone right next to me was seeing it too. And someone that I used to live with from the house it came from saw the same thing I saw. So what my mom said has truth to it, but I feel like the drug usage had a role to play in it as well. It tweaks your perception. It, wipes away, certain blocks, for lack of a better term. And I believe that's why native cultures and other cultures through antiquity have used it, because it kind of dissolves away things for you to see a little bit more clearly into these subject matters. But that's kind of what we're talking about. There's a very gray area between who's crazy, who's hallucinating, who's actually seeing something. It's going to be a very touchy and kind of speculation across the board subject matter. There's really no way to say one way or the other. But if you guys have any experiences with drugs and the paranormal, please let me know. If you don't want to let us know publicly, you can email me at justinbrowninterfacedeath.net, or you can message the page that you're watching and let me know. And I promise your anonymity, and I just want to use it for informational purposes and research purposes.
I have a question from Heath. Justin, do you think a flashback may help you see spirits?
A flashback from a psychedelic trip flashback?
I'm assuming possibly, maybe. That's all he said.
A flashback may help you see spirits. So my understanding of what a flashback is it's almost like a PTSD type thing from a trip where something triggers a past psychedelic experience and you flash back to that moment, or you flash back to that state of mind. So it could, but not always. I have to play the fence on that, because it really depends. It really depends on the situation, what you're seeing, and how it can be validated. I'm big on validation, guys. I've always been skeptical until it's been validated in a way or a fashion that makes me feel pretty confident. Like, if I didn't have anybody else see the stuff that I was seeing at my mother's house or witness it or experience it, I'd still to this day be skeptical of it. But since they did, that validated it for me. So always seek validation.
Okay, do you have a question, Missy? I have one more, but if you want to.
I just have a comment and then a
Sure.
question. Go ahead and ask yours, and then they're trying to, I think, figure out the word
Okay.
that Daniel was trying to use.
Aw. Joe says, how's there a former drug addicts or people who might smoke something like weed who claim their place is haunted, and most investigators will just ignore them, blame it on the drugs?
He's asking me why that happens, or what do I think about that? How did the question start off?
How's there
Oh, guys, yeah.
how's there are former drug addictions or people who might smoke something like weed who claim their place is haunted, and most investigators would just ignore them, blame it on the drugs?
Okay, that's how is it? Why does that happen? Is what he's asking. That's what I get out of it.
Yeah, why do people blame it on the drugs? If
because
if
it's easy. It's easy. If you're not a thorough investigator and not objective, that's easy to do. If you're biased against drugs, that's easy to do. That's why that happens. That's an easy answer to that question. If you go in and you're strongly against drugs and you find evidence that they've been taking illegal drugs or legal drugs inappropriately or illegally, then yeah, they're going to say, well, you're on pot. You're hallucinating all this crap. Your house is haunted. We'll talk to you later, or don't call us back. Whatever they say. That's why it happens. So if you ever come onto that situation, if you ever investigate a home or a residence that comes up, stay objective. Continue the most thorough investigation you can possibly. Keep that information about the marijuana there, but don't use it as a snap judgment. That would be my response to it.
Go ahead, Missy.
Okay. My question, Lynn's question is: if people get messages without drugs, do you really think drugs would enhance the experience or warp the experience so they wouldn't be as valid?
Yes and no. Some people, now the brain chemistry of people, there's a huge spectrum. Okay, some people, drugs unlock things. Some people already have things unlocked without drugs. So it's not like drugs is the key, fix all for everybody. Okay, with that being said, not everything that a person can pick up is validated because they're not on drugs either. We're talking about perception and the mind. It's very subjective. It could be flawed. It could play tricks on you. So you're always seeking validation whether you're on drugs or not on drugs, doing the things that you need. So just because someone's not on drugs or on drugs should not be the deciding factor on whether it's valid or not. It's just a tool. Some people may use meditation to reach altered mind states. Some people may use other tools to get there. It's just a tool. It's just the tool and the method they use to get there.
Daniel said, what about I don't even know what that word is. It's some kind of drug used in southwestern U.S. areas before investigations in native areas. Zach did it.
Okay, whose name?
Daniel Everson.
Okay, let me go back and see if I can find it, because I need to know what he's talking about.
PAODI. He said it makes you feel like you're one with spirits.
Peyote?
Yeah.
So he was asking, what about peyote again? I'm sorry.
Yeah. He wants to know if that would be useful, or I guess That's what he was asking.
Yeah, peyote is if I remember right, peyote is a fungus on a cactus. It can be found a lot on cacti. So has psilocybin in it, and yeah, people use, native cultures have been using that. Peyote. Is that what they're talking about? Yeah, that's what Heather. Yeah. Yeah, it can help, but you need to have, if you're not experienced with the substance, you need to be guided. I would not suggest you go out and get some street peyote and trip on it and expect to have a great experience. You should be guided. Someone who has had experience with peyote should be there guiding you. Do your research on it. That's a whole other show. Okay, not everybody are able to take psychedelics and have a benefit from it. It can really mess you up. You got to be careful. I would not suggest that just anybody go out and take peyote. It's pretty strong.
Becky asked about it. Doesn't that take you on a spiritual journey?
It can, but spiritual journey in quotation marks is a very vague way to explain something. Now, let me explain that. A spiritual journey could be very frightening. It could be very pleasing. It can be very odd. It can be many things. It just depends on how you react to the experience. Some people can take it and never be the same again. Some people can take it and be like, screw that. I hated that. It didn't give me any benefit or give me any insight spiritually. Some people can take it and be like, whoa, that gave me such an awesome way to perceive things that I didn't know was possible, and it really helped. So anybody that would ever think for a moment that they should experiment with it, please have someone there that's experienced with it and knows what they're doing, if that's possible.
I don't have anything on YouTube.
Okay. I have one more. Brenda Ray asked, how are you going to validate a paranormal experience if you are under the influence?
Okay. There are many ways. If you're under the influence of anything and you hear a voice, no one else heard the voice but you're running recorders and the recorder heard the voice, that's validation. Let's just say if you heard a voice that said, help me, in a house on a Monday, and you thought your house was haunted, so you call up your local listing psychic medium person, you say, hey, my house is haunted. Will you come check it out? Don't tell them anything about what you heard. You can tell them you heard voices, but just be vague about it. Have them come in. If they tell you, oh, I hear a man asking for help, that would be validation, a form of validation. Maybe you do some historical research and you found out that there was a house there built before your house was, and it burnt down, and there was a newspaper listing saying that the neighbors could hear voices screaming, help me, as the house burned and the person died in it. That'd be another form of validation, possibly. There's many ways. Like I said before, whether you're under the influence or not should not be used to determine or discern whether it's validated or not. You should not judge the situation one way or another. What are you laughing at?
Because my chair is messed up. I keep sinking. I keep going down.
Here, let me make your screen bigger. There you go.
I know I wasn't trying to, but I can't. No. Okay. I'm gonna have to get up.
All right, you can get up.
Okay.
Should I be looking toads for paranormal data?
Oh, I broke it.
For one, to find those toads, in South America is hard. Okay? My knowledge of the toad is they only come out at night after it rained, and they make a call, and the shamans that know the call will hear them and call back to them, and they have to hunt them down. Once they find the son of a gun, they have to tie little strings around its legs and arms and spread it out and kind of immobilize it, and they kind of tickle it and prod it until it secretes this stuff, and they kind of scrape it off. And some people smoke it, some people burn, like make burn marks in their flesh and rub the substance that the frog secretes in there. There is a famous story of Mike Tyson doing that. He smoked the secretion from a frog in South America. And if you've been checking out Mike Tyson's podcast and interviews lately, he's very shamanistic. He is super changed. Kind of reports that it melted away his ego, that superstar, king of the world boxer mentality pretty much dissolved away. And he now hates that person. Very interesting. So go check out Mike Tyson's experience with the frog.
Bill Davis said, I guess Josh's $6 chair came in.
I just read that. No, he didn't get a $6 chair.
That's funny.
I think it's a joke between them that I don't know if anybody else knows.
I don't know. Maybe Josh altered the chair before he left.
So I would have issues?
Yeah.
Maybe.
Because he knew you wouldn't have any mic issues, so he set you up good there, but
it keeps, I can still like feel it like sinking. It'd be my fault somehow. He's not in the chat. He's out to eat with all the guys from work.
What's up, Goose? What's going on? We're talking about drugs and the paranormal. And so far it's been trippy, man. Been trippy. So, obviously the girls can kind of speak from a standpoint where they see and hear shit all the time without drugs. Do you feel like it's an altered state? Do you feel like it's a state you're always in, or do you feel like it's a shift in your perception when paranormal things happen, psychic things happen?
Personally, I feel like I'm in that state all the time. Jess?
I think it's both for me. It depends on the situation. Like, and if I get myself, if we're going on an investigation, then obviously I'm in that state. But if I'm out and about reading the contractor that just showed up to the house, it's different. If best way I can describe it.
How is it different?
I don't know. It just feels different. But maybe because I'm not expecting, when you go on an investigation, you know what's going to happen. Well, you don't know what's going to happen, but it's more or less like you're going to do a walkthrough. You're going to see what you can pick up on. But if I'm just talking to a random stranger and things start coming through, it feels different for me.
Elaborate. What feels different?
Well, I think how things, I don't want to say how things come to me feels different, because it's still the same feeling and how it happens. But I think I don't sit there and think about, I'm going on an investigation, I'm going to go get this done. But then if I see a random stranger at Lowe's or Walmart or whatever, and I start reading them, I think it's just because of my mind's not in that state, as in going on investigations and walking up to a stranger.
So what you're saying, you can manually get yourself into an altered state.
Yeah. I mean, and a lot of times I try to not allow myself to go there, but then it happens.
You haven't quite figured it out yet.
Correct. I'm still looking for the on-off switch.
Yeah, I don't know if that's exactly how it works.
I don't think there's an off switch.
Well,
personally,
it's not a switch. Your diet, your
frame of mind.
Yeah, your frame of mind. But what I was going to be more specific about it. You can use certain parts of who you are when you judge or perceive.
Mm-hmm.
And on an empathic level, you can connect with people's emotions. You can relate to others in emotional levels. You can turn that down. You can give less fucks or give more fucks. So therefore, the connections that you have with people emotionally can be controlled if you feel like you have control over those things. So I feel like if you got a handle on how emotional your emotional senses are throughout the day, it can change. I believe in the morning they're higher. Throughout the day they decrease, and then they kind of rise and fall periodically as the night goes on. I think the later that it gets, the more it will taper off and get lower. But I found, me personally, that I'm more emotional very early when I get up. Like if I'm scrolling Facebook or social media, something will come across that's highly emotional, and it'll affect me more than it would, say, at 3 or 4 o'clock.
See, I just ran into that. I just thought about that within the past week. Like as soon as I wake up, I won't look at my phone for probably about an hour and a half, because I see when I do that, it kind of puts me in a different emotion for the rest of the day. It doesn't put me in a bad mood. It's almost like it's draining. It's, just kind of like a blah. But I've noticed if I don't pick up my phone, I'm in a good, for an hour and a half or 2 hours or wherever, how long, I'm in a better mood the longer I wait in the mornings.
Yeah, Joe. Certain foods, yeah, I definitely. That's why I mentioned your diet. The more meat, the more non-vegan diet you have, the more psychic you can become. Meat and other things like that ground you.
Dairy.
Yeah, dairy, meat, eggs, all that type of stuff. If you want to feel protected from psychic attack or a lot of supernatural influence, eat meat.
Eat you a cheeseburger.
If you don't like to eat meat, or you're semi-vegan or vegan or vegetarian, whatever you are, then you can become less grounded, which has pros and cons to it. And we definitely have been educating ourselves as a paranormal group in that regard.
Becky actually just made a good comment, and I think actually I see where she's coming from. I'm so in tune with other people that when I go to work, I block because one of them is pissy and it makes her insides shake. See, maybe, I don't know. See, I keep looking back of how I was explaining it. I don't know if I was explaining it correctly, but
Yeah, I think that there's a lot of things that people come across, behavior that they come across that will trigger a traumatic event or unfavorable memory or situation that they had. So they do block it so they don't relive it. I think the universe and our reality is filled with patterns, not only of behavior, but of, higher symbols that represent things. Pain and suffering can kind of be wrapped up in a certain personality or a certain behavior. And even when you're very psychically in tuned, you can pick up on patterns and symbols without any obvious triggers there. It's in between the lines. It's ethereal, but it's there. That you will pick it up even though it's not obvious. It's kind of hard to explain. I don't know if I explained that well, but yeah, the people definitely have to change how they deal with people. That, when you're working with other people, that goes without saying. Let's talk about tobacco. Jess, do you want to talk about how do you smoke cigarettes and it kind of helps you?
it helps me. It helps me when I'm reading.
Mm-hmm.
I will chain smoke. Sorry, I was making a comment to your mom. I have if I'm at the house, if I'm on the phone, there's a spot on the back porch. I sit there and I chain smoke, and I don't even know I'm doing it. But I think it's. I don't know if it's a comfort thing, I don't even know. I mean, it's one right after another. And I can't stop. Like, I mean, I can go in different places of the house, but it's like, when I am reading, but I'm more comfortable back there with a cigarette in my hands.
Do you, my mother uses tobacco.
Does she? Okay. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know if it's just like, it's my mental like comfort level, or if it's something, open. So I have no
It's a
idea.
tool. It's a tool. It's a stimulant. It stimulates the brain. It alters your perception. It's a tool. So yes, it
Bill
does
said I smoke because of Justin too.
Oh yeah, me too.
He was smoking. He was probably smoking the ganja before I was staying in my daddy's shorts.
Right?
I don't know. Is he that much older than I am?
I don't know. I think he is.
Oh, good Lord.
Thanks, Julia, for stopping by. I appreciate it. So yeah, I kind of what reminded me to ask you was my mother. She takes a pipe, tobacco pipe, puts tobacco in it, takes some puffs off of it. It stimulates the part of her brain to kind of get her centered and focused on what she needs to do. Clears your mind. That's why people smoke cigarettes primarily. Keeps you focused. Keeps you
interesting. Yeah, I didn't even know that. I just know. I mean, it's one hour after another.
I know things, Jess.
We do.
Oh, here we go.
Before we do our walkthrough, we do that too.
Yeah.
Well, you unconsciously smoke. You've been smoking for years. It's not like you're focusing on why you do it every single time. That's why you haven't thought about it. It's just something you do on habit.
Well, we try to chain smoke before we go to locations because we never know how long we'll be able to smoke again.
Right.
We got the drill master in the house.
My son claims that he's learning a lot. I'm not telling you to go out and do drugs, Cy. Just for the record.
Oh.
Randy said I find that if I chain smoke when I hyperfocus and not even realize it until I'm almost out of cigarettes.
Yes.
That might be a little bit too much cigarettes.
No, I get what she's saying.
Mm-hmm.
It's because it's like white run right after another. Within like 30 seconds, you have to light up again. And I mean, I understand that you're explaining it, but it's still like, I don't get it. But I mean, I'll look down like, oh, how long was that reading for? I could have anywhere from 4 to almost a whole pack.
Mm-hmm.
It all depends. And I don't know. It's weird.
Yeah, that's why I like to have the show, stimulate some conversation on things that a lot of times you use psychoactive drugs and we're not even thinking about, like tobacco. It affects our perception, our psyches. And I just wanted to bring that up. I know we're reaching the end, but it doesn't necessarily have to mean that you have to fry on acid or peyote to see God. Okay? It could be the little things. In biblical times and religious cultures, or during cultures when they're practicing certain religious rituals, they use psychoactive drugs. Sometimes they're tripping balls, sometimes they're just stimulated, or using like a tranquilizer effect. Frankincense and myrrh, they use that a lot in biblical times because it just relaxes you. It puts you in a state of relaxation. So maybe if you're trying to find your way through a situation or receive some enlightenment from a situation, maybe you just need to sniff some frankincense. Relax.
Now, what about drinking? Yeah.
That kind of goes along with the tranquilizers used, but in moderation, I can see that taking a central nervous system depressant rather, has a psychotropic effect, but not in the way that acid or a trippy drug does. I think that people have hallucinated while drinking, but it doesn't seem like that's a healthy way to do it.
Do you think drinking, I mean, not, getting drunk, but just taking an edge off of whatever.
Yes.
You think it opens up? Okay.
Absolutely. Yep.
I can take Tylenol PM and have the weirdest dreams weirder than I have now.
Oh, wow. Just Tylenol PM?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Hell, you can even drink orange juice and have a weird dream if you drink it before you go to bed.
All the sugar.
Yes, if you spike your insulin, yeah. Yep. So he appreciates the education. He's been unmotivated to come visit.
Get off your ass and come do it.
Yeah, you need to like grow your beard out long and get like a robe and a staff and walk to my house like Gandalf. You can show up, visit us.
They have hoverboards on clearance at Walmart right now. Just go buy you one.
What's Brandy and Derek talking about ribbons for? Did I miss that?
It's like anniversaries today. We got anniversary followers and all kinds of stuff.
Anniversary followers?
Yeah.
Yeah, it says it on Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
An anniversary of following page?
The Justin Brown page.
Really?
We all got ribbons for anniversary followers.
I wasn't aware of that.
Yeah, it's new. I've been seeing it. I don't know how new it is, but
I have to look into that. See, Facebook is doing the top fan thing, badges, and they're trying to reward people following pages and stuff.
Yeah, we just got badges for it.
Well,
I think Misty and I should get trophies for putting up with your ass.
Trophies?
Just saying.
Christy can award them to you.
Well, Christy needs something like humongous.
Yeah. I unfortunately can't give her something like that.
Like a gold-plated chair.
I can't give her something humongous.
He just told me him, Brandy, and Daniel were talking about the DARE program when you were in school, and they gave you little badges for.
I remember that.
Did you not get that joke, Jessica?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
But I was being good, Justin.
Stop it. You're supposed to be like, no.
No, but you just asked me if I got it, and I was just like playing along, like nothing. And then you just said, "Did you get that joke, Jessica?"
Mm-hmm.
Don't put it on me.
Okay. I won't put it on you. I promise. I'll keep it away from you.
Thank God.
All right. Does anybody else have any questions before we wrap this show up and destroy it completely?
Nope.
All right. Well, hopefully I kind of scratched the surface of the subject matter. I know that an hour show with a bunch of laymen and amateurs talking about it won't do the subject matter justice, but we'll wrap it up. Thanks, girls, for doing a good job once again. Appreciate it. And thank you guys for tuning in and having a very respectful and adult-like, semi-adult, sit-down talk about drugs and the paranormal. It's something that we need to talk about more. Of course, it's very subjective. The lines are blurred when it comes to it. But, the takeaway from the show is if you're investigating a place and you find out that they're seeing ghosts, seeing demons, whatever they're reporting to you, do not shrug them off if you know that they're either got a psychological issue or if they're on illegal drugs or even legal drugs. Go into it deeper, be thorough, be objective. Okay? Throughout history, religions, cultures have used drugs, whether it be subtle ways or very strong psychoactive drugs. They have their uses, and it all depends on your perception of what's happening. Okay? Just try to be objective. Try not to disregard everything that you feel or experience on drugs, and try not to, do the flip opposite, which would be think everything's spiritual and divine. So hopefully that's a good takeaway from the show. If you like this show, follow what we do. Okay? Interfacedeath.net is our website. We primarily do paranormal field research and do documentaries of them. Everything that you can possibly know about our group can be found at interfacedeath.net. We urge you to go there and subscribe to the mailing list. We don't spam your inbox. We only send out maybe 4 or 5 things a month, and we're very, very lenient on that. If you're watching on YouTube, you can follow the Justin Brown Paranormal Research page on Facebook, and there's also Interface Death is on Facebook as well. You can follow Interface Death on Twitter and Instagram. And if you're watching on Facebook, please consider going to YouTube, Interface Death, Paranormal Research on YouTube, hitting subscribe. And if you want to get the notifications, click that icon that's shaped like a bell, so you'll get annoyed by all the notifications. But it's free, and it helps us out a lot. If you want to support us financially, you can do so. $1 a month or more. There's different tiers that you can do. If you like what you see and you want to help even more, patreon.com/support Interface Death is a way to provide us with financial support and get rewarded. Exclusive content, all types of things are there. Please check that out. If you don't like how Patreon is set up and still want to make a donation, you can do so through PayPal. The PayPal link is there as well. And also, we have just started a Discord server where everybody from any social media platform, anywhere on the internet, can come to one place and chat and engage in all the conversations. And there's even tech support there, and we can even do mentoring if you would like. So that's something that we provide as well. UPS on Facebook. It is a paranormal Facebook group that covers all things paranormal, from UFOs, cryptozoology, and ghosts, hauntings. Everything under that umbrella is accepted and welcome and talked about on UPS. So if you have not joined, send me a join request. We'll accept it, and we can share your paranormal work, share experiences, ideas, and interact there as well. Patreon is a way to vote on these topics. It's the way to help produce our work. You're shouted out. The live streams, you're listed as producers under all of our documentary work, everything. So extend a huge thanks to these people on the screen: Clay Borman, Katie Turner, RJ Murphy, Scotty Fox, Casey Schreiner, Jessica Bias, Paranormal Reporter, Heather Elliott, Joe Vitale, the Ghost Guild, Kellen McConkey, Tony Felosi, General 7, Betty Kegley, and the Cherry Capital Shadow Seekers. Please extend your thanks to them. They're the people that keep this stuff going to provide you this free content on the internet. So that's where I'll leave it. You guys have a good night. You can stick around to see the video promotions if you have not seen them yet. And next week, we have Necromancer. Next Tuesday, we have Paranormal Soapbox again. Thanks, everybody from RU Media. If you're watching on RU Media, we'll see you guys next time. Do you have that drive? That morbid curiosity to explore the darkness? Do you have what it takes to brave the night? You do? Good. Dead light. For those who aren't afraid to see what lurks
sale. I'd like to see you. What the fuck was that?
In every old building, a story lays dormant, yearning to be told. This is our calling.
I don't know why in this room, I'm hearing the train.
I just heard something.
It feels like it's train. Non-stop. I don't know why. I feel there was a lot of chaos a few times. A lot of hectic and a lot of energies all at once. Feels like there's an older gentleman. Like he's almost... angry.
So we walked out to the side of the house and we both felt like something was watching us. So at the same time, we turn and we look up at the tower and we see a man standing there. He was an older gentleman and he had, you know, like his cheeks were kind of hanging down and his gray hair was swept back and he had a maroon dressing gown on.
I do believe that I have some sort of ability. Genuinely, I could be in this house all day, all night without any complaints whatsoever. It's just that comfortable. A lot of people think just because it's haunted and just because it has paranormal activity that automatically you're supposed to run screaming for the hills, but in this place it just feels like home.
I heard footsteps.
5-degree increase.
It walked away. It's behind you.
Something that I picked up prior on the photos that I've seen. I keep seeing a badge. It feels like some kind of tightness in the chest. So it feels like he possibly could have passed away from heart or lung issues. But I don't know if he was an officer here or some kind of badge. I'm trying to figure out how to explain it, and it's just so overwhelming. It's just a lot of.
Whoa. My camera just stopped. I just got a complete shutdown of my equipment.
My main story when I first started here, that's where I saw the mass, was in the basement doorway.
Showers in prisons feel weird. More happened in there than people getting clean.
Doesn't matter what floor you're on, what room you're in, you can get interaction. This is one of the most haunted locations that I've been to.
Just walk out of your cell. I'd like to see you. What the fuck was that?